Hey guys, I want to do a video review of specifically the Holosun 403R in comparison to the Sig Sauer ROMEO5, just because I've been running the ROMEO5s for probably 3-4 years, and just wanted to do a comparison in the sense that I see a lot of people running the Sig Romeos, ROMEO5 specifically, on a lot of firearms, shotguns, things like that. The Holosun 403R, I recently picked it up after doing some research and comparisons and wanted to give it a try in comparison to the Sig. So what we'll do, even though I've had this optic for a while, I do want to compare kind of what you're getting out of the box with both. Overall, initially, I feel like the Romeos and the Sig Sauers have a much more appealing box over the Holosuns, but let's go ahead and get into that. So you can kind of see ROMEO5. This is just a standard 2 MOA dot, right? And then they have a 2 mounts in there, and we'll go over the different mounts here in a little bit. So pop this open. You get the manual right out of the front here, and then under the foam you get your little lens cloth. There's silica gel in there. This one, you can get some of these without, but this comes with a low or 1/3 mount, so if you're putting out a shotgun, AK, something like that. This would be your typical battery compartment. Obviously I have it in the red dot to show some comparison there. And then they have a really nice little kind of multi-tool. So this is for your battery cover and your sight adjustment, but this is also the correct torque, I believe it's a T10, torque tool for both the mounting of the optic to your firearm, right here, and for your screws here on the bottom for if you want to switch out mounts to the other one. So they have a really nice little multi-tool that comes with that. Now in comparison to the Holosun, so pretty standard, gives a little bit of basic info, but nothing overly fancy. I do like, this is a plastic case, so I kind of like that, you know, it does come in something a little rigid and has a solid kind of seal to it. Again, manual right out the top and basic info, and we'll go over some of the differences here in a little bit. Again, little lens cloth, some more information as far as activating your warranty and registering the optic for the warranty, all that basic info on there. There's this one here. This is for their battery covers, and then they don't really have a tool, a combo tool for doing the adjusting the sight itself, but just a simple battery cover tool here. And then they have a their T10, just kind of like almost like an Allen style wrench, but it is your little tool here. And then the lower 1/3 mount as well. And both these, they do use the same cutouts for mounts, or style mounts. So I believe, I'd have to double check, but I believe that they are compatible with anything that's like an aim point. And then this would have been the battery package. So that is the difference as far as packaging goes, what you get in that little package with it. But let's do some initial comparisons here, right? So if you're familiar with the ROMEO5s, they will state, you know, usually depending on where you find it, typically they'll state 50,000 hours on a normal setting that's not a high setting. So typically like a 5-6 setting will get you 50,000 hours, and they say up to an additional 40,000 with the auto shut off, right? So yeah, it says here, you'll get, after approximately 120 seconds of non-use, it will power off and then goes back to motion activation, which is pretty sensitive. So like if you got it bouncing around in a truck, you know, if it's on a firearm there, it will come on and you could lose a lot of battery. Then it also has an IPX7 rating. So what that's going to mean is it's good to 3 meters underwater for 30 minutes. Shockproof, you know, again, waterproof of a certain sort. But in comparison to the Holosun, right? So the features here, we got up to 100,000 hour battery life. And again, usually when they state that, it is not at max brightness. It's more of a mid brightness that they're saying that at. Both of them have 10 daylight and 2 night vision brightness settings. This is milled out of a 6061 aluminum, or the mount is. But they have an IP67 rating. So if you go and you look up those ratings, what you'll find is an IPX7, again, you get the waterproof, shockproof, up to 3 meters for 30 minutes. This gets the same exact stuff, but that 6 means that it's also dustproof. So depending on the environments you're in, it has a certain level of a dustproof protection to it. So if you're in a desert area, it's going to help with that. Now, something that's interesting is both of these will state that they have an absolute co-witness. What's co-witness mount with these higher mounts? But what's interesting is Sig's co-witness is a 1.41 co-witness mount, where the Romeo's, or sorry, the Holosun 403R, that co-witness height mount is a 1.63. So kind of odd. I thought that they both will state they have an absolute co-witness, but it is, when you put this onto a specifically like maybe like an AR platform, you're gonna find that this does sit higher. When you're running those iron backups, I would almost call them like a lower 1/3 mount, and those are running like standard Magpul backup sites, so they do sit in a lower 1/3. Now again, these mounts do match up, so in this case, for me personally, I'm looking to swap the optics over to opposite mounts so that I can have a co-witness for the Juliet Micro, with that on my firearm. And I want to go over some of the magnification. I do like the machining, as you can see on here. Holosun kind of machines these to protect your turrets a little more. I like that. A big difference you're going to notice is this is a push button. So you got your positive, your negative, and this is a dial. I do have it at 12. I'm going to try and show the brightness here in a little bit. And so you just dial down, dial up, you know, just like an aim point would. And it does turn with, it's a positive click, but it's not too aggressive where you're going to have to sit there and use 2 hands to dial it. I like that with the battery cover, they keep it relatively recessed where you do not have to worry as you dial it that you're gonna loosen the battery cap and have that fall out and run into issues with that down the road. Where obviously with the Sigs, they give you that ability to remove it easily since you're not dialing on there anyway, which is something to note on that. If you are in a situation where you're like, oh, I gotta swap out batteries, a lot easier on this just because you can get your hand on it, where this is you know, part of the dial, so they make it a little trickier to remove and stuff. As far as brightness goes, right, we're going to show that here, Both of them are set at the highest settings, maxed out. So right now we're at 12. And I want to show the Holosun is significantly brighter. You can't see it super well on the camera, but it is significantly brighter out when you're outside, right? And even inside here you can see there's a pretty good amount of brightness coming out of there. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn it down to 10 on both. So on this one it'll be 1, 2, down, just to compare here. Find them, right? And you can see how that Holosun is quite a bit brighter still, right? So especially when you're looking at like a daylight bright, it's kind of important. So I'm going to drop them down to 8. 1, 2, 1, 2. So this is at an 8. And there you can see the Sig. There's the Holosun. Again, still significantly brighter. And that center dot on the Holosun is so vivid. I mean, it's, you know, you can see the Sig there. It is more of just that red dot, but that Holosun is so bright. It really does catch your eye when you're looking through that at that dot. So we're gonna go down to 6. Well, actually, I'm gonna go down to 7 quick first, and so you can see that. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. There, I'll put my hand, right? So there's, without my finger there, you can barely see the Sig. With my finger there, you can make it out a bit better. But the Holosun, again, still very bright. But I know if we drop down to 6, right? Sig is pretty much, you can barely see it. If I put my hand there, there you can see it. And the Holosun, still against that table there, you can see it, you know. There's my finger in front of it, see it a bit better. So, and just to compare, because I know, right, so Holosun, you can still kind of faintly make it out. There it is. If I come down 1 on the Sig, this is at 5. It's pretty much kind of gone for the most part. So, that's the one thing with the Holosun, right? You can really, in a very bright environment, this one does outshine the Sig. Especially so like if people are out, you know, in like a snowy environment where you're getting that major glare off the snow, at a 10, you can still easily make out the dot. You dial up to 12, you have no problem finding it at all. But like with the Sig, you got to crank that sucker all the way up, and depending on how much glare you're getting off of, you know, like a snowy background, it does become pretty tough. So what I want to do is I want to try and show these under magnification of that 3-power Juliet, just so you guys can kind of compare, see the difference on both of them, and make a comparison there. Alright guys, so this here is the ROMEO5 on this Juliet, and I just wanted to show, this is on that 3-power. So with this is at max brightness. You can kind of see out of the top of that dot, and I apologize that it's more of like a, looks more like a star than a dot, but you can see that line that comes out of the top of it there. That is what you do see at a max brightness. Depending on how you're sitting under that optic, you will see this vertical line that comes out of it, and it's kind of goofy. As you go through the brightness settings, you know, and dim it down, you can get rid of it. But depending on how I position my head and how you move around, you'll see the dot will almost turn into like 3 dots. It's kind of really hard to explain, but the Romeo just does not seem to do super, and it might not be the Romeo entirely. It could be the Juliet Micro, bear in mind, but it doesn't always seem to do super great under magnification. So I'm going to throw the Holosun on here and show you the difference there. Alright guys, so this is the Holosun 403. So you can't, doesn't show it on here, but you do get that vertical line going. Oh, I can kind of get it there. Get that vertical line coming out of the top there. You can kind of see it. This is at a 10 brightness, because at 12, it's stupid bright how bright this is, but it is a perfectly crisp dot the whole time. Like I said, with the ROMEO5, and I can't get it to show it on camera, you get this weird triangle shaped multi-dot reticle out of it, but the Holosun, regardless of how you position your head, it is a perfectly shaped dot. Aside from at a brighter setting in a lower light, you get that weird vertical line coming out of the top of it. But once you dial it down to more match the brightness you're in, it goes away entirely. So again, that's probably more due to the Juliet than the optics, the red dots themselves. Again, more of the Juliet Micro issue. But again, the Romeo or the Holosun seems to do a lot better under magnification. Alright guys, just a couple final thoughts here on both of these. As you can see, I did swap the mounts. They don't match up perfectly because they were not intended for said optic. But with this mount, I get a perfect co-witness with my Juliet Micro. Again, because it's that 0.20 inch difference on the mounts. I did forget to mention, they do both come with the little bikini covers, so you got that just to kind of keep those lenses clean. But overall, like I said, I'm super psyched about the Holosun. It is currently going to be my go-to red dot for my firearms. This is going to go on another firearm. This is like a home defense kind of thing. But this is going to go on my primary. Reason being, I like the dial. I like that I can see what brightness I'm setting it at, so that given certain situations, I kind of know, hey, this brightness works best for me going into a house or going into this kind of light setting based on my background that I'm using it at. I do apologize, I couldn't get it super clear to replicate what I was seeing through the glass as far as the dots go, but did the best I could. So hopefully it answers any questions you might have. They are both appear to be made in China. This is the Holosun mount, but you can see made in China on there. And when you take the mounts off, it says made in China. Now, something I didn't note, I put Loctite on these lower screws to mount it. When it came out of the box, there was no Loctite on them. The Holosun did. When I swapped it over to this mount, there was Loctite on these screws, and they are significantly longer. They're about twice as long as these ones, as a note. But these came with Loctite on them. So depend on kind of what you're thinking there. Definitely take note of that. Check your screws, make sure there's Loctite, because you would hate to lose that optic in a needed situation. But other than that, if you guys got questions, please drop them in the comments. I'll try to answer what I can. And if you have comments on them, if you guys have been running them, please comment as well, and like and share this video. Thanks.